Let's see an example of an image composed with a wide-angle lens. This is a frame from Wong Kar-wai's Fallen Angel. Both the foreground and the background are in sharp focus. In addition, the wide-angle lens, especially when talking about lenses under 16mm, has a distorting effect, deforming a bit the edges of the frame. Let's see an image shot with a normal lens. This is a frame from the Coen brothers' Miller's Crossing. The main character is in the foreground in sharp focus. The two standing characters in the background are out of focus. However, there is no distortion on the edges of the frame. Likewise, his whole body is shown in focus. Pay attention to his right hand and his face. Even though they are not exactly in the same plane of action, they are both in focus. Now, let's see an image shot with a telephoto lens from Michael Mann's The Insider. While the main character is in sharp focus, everything behind him is completely out of focus, despite the physical proximity of the other character, this way isolating him from the frame. The director isolates his face to express this emotional intensity. Using different lenses is, above all, a compositional technique. Directors will use different lenses to express different meanings in different contexts. If you use a wide-angle lens, you are creating within the image several planes of action in sharp focus. Consequently, you are able to show different characters' actions or provide information through the use of color, objects, or the geography of the particular space, revealing key aspects of the story unfolding. On the other hand, if you use a telephoto lens, isolating a character or an object, you are drawing attention to a specific plane of action for dramatic, storytelling, or expressive purposes. We'll do a simple exercise. We are going to set a frame with two characters. We will maintain the same aperture, f-stop. We will keep the same camera position. The only difference will be the fact that we use three different lenses: 250mm, 40mm, 10mm. First, 250mm. In the shot, the character who is sitting down is in sharp focus. The character walking behind him will only come into focus as she approaches him. The background will also be out of focus. Now with a 40mm normal lens. In this shot, the composition has considerably expanded. We can see her whole body, and the depth of field is greater. It's the kind of shot we'd use before cutting to a close-up as they make eye contact. Finally, let's see with a wide-angle, 10mm lens. You can appreciate the enormous expansion of the field of composition. Everything is in sharp focus. The subjects are quite small in the frame. You can also appreciate how the image appears distorted. In this context, you would seldom use this composition unless new actions happen in the foreground simultaneously as the two characters keep talking in the background. Now let's go to a closer shot, reversing the order of the lenses. First, 10mm. Both characters are in sharp focus, and so is the bench behind them, and even the people passing in the background. Second, 40mm. We are closer to the characters. The male character is in sharp focus. Even though the female character is not entirely out of focus, you can appreciate that she doesn't look sharp. The same with the background. As we look far behind the subjects, the trees are out of focus. (250mm). It would be impossible to frame these two characters with a 250mm lens since they would not fit in the frame. We have placed the camera in a similar angle. These are two still images of each of the two characters. In the first one, he is in focus. In the second one, she is in focus. You can appreciate how everything behind them is completely blurry. The telephoto lens can also be used to record characters walking towards the camera, since they appear closer than they are. Let's see an example from the film Tootsie. In the shot, the male character, played by Dustin Hoffman, is an unemployed actor. No one wants to hire him. He decides to change his identity, becoming a woman, to get a part in a TV show. As she gets closer to the camera, the spectators can appreciate this change of look. Everything around him, her, is blurry. Our only focus of attention is her change of identity. In order for this technique to work, the camera operator has to constantly refocus as the character gets closer. Let's see two examples. In the first one, we are using the same technique as Tootsie. In the second one, we keep the focus in the initial point of the two characters. As they get closer to the camera, little by little, they get out of focus. Finally, there is a type of lens that combines different focal lengths. That is, it has a variable focal length, the zoom lens. The more zoomed out we are, the shorter the lens is. The more zoomed in we are, the longer the lens is. For example, a 55 to 250 millimeter lens goes from being a normal 55 millimeter lens to becoming a 250 millimeter long lens as we zoom in, which would have less depth of field.